Hi guys, in this video I'm going to show you how I made a bull face cake. This one ended up looking a lot like Ferdinand. It wasn't meant to, but it did. So I did this for Chinese New Year, and we'll just start with a round cake, and I'm just cutting a little bit off the top of each side near the top. We're adding the extra bits back to the bottom. Guys, you can use any size cake you want, any size board you want, but leave quite a bit of board above the top of the cake so we've got space for horns. I'm going to mark where I want the face to go. I want quite a lot of neck, with it being a bull or an ox. So a nice thick neck. I'm trimming off the top edges of the cake, so kind of the corner bit, so it's a bit more rounded, and then we're going to trim under where we want the face to go. So taking that bottom section of cake a little bit lower down than the bit that will become the face. I'm going to put some buttercream on the nose area, and then I'm going to use some of my cake offcuts to then build up the nose. And then any bits that are left I'll probably end up eating. So just build it up to the height that you're happy with. I haven't gone overly tall with the nose. And then I'm just cutting out a little curve from under there, sort of dividing the top of the mouth and the bottom of the mouth. For the eye area, you can either cut some out or you can just press it down with your end of the rolling pin. I just pressed it down, it was a little bit less messy. Then I'm going to cover the whole thing in buttercream. Now I actually used a flavoured buttercream for this one, but what I'll do is I'll put links below the video to everything that I've used, just to make it a bit easier for you guys. I do sell most of the stuff in my online shop anyway, but the links are still there if you do need them. So we're smoothing down that buttercream. I've used just a palette knife to smooth with, and then also like a flexible smoother. Once you're happy with how smooth you've got the buttercream, you can put it in the fridge for a bit, let it firm up, and then start to knead your fondant. So I'm using a chocolate flavoured fondant here, mainly because I liked the colour, but also it tastes quite nice as well. So large rolling pin, just roll it out big enough that you know it's going to cover the cake. So press it in gently, especially into the areas that are a bit deeper, so like the nose area, the mouth, eyes, and then go around the edge. Trim off any extra that goes beyond the edge of the cake, and then you can just concentrate a bit more on pressing down in any areas that you want to look a little bit deeper. Just be careful you don't tear through the fondant at any point. So with some black, what we're going to do is we're just going to cover around the top edge of the board. That way I can decorate the board, have it look nice. So you can roll the fondant fairly thin for this, and then we'll trim off any extra from around the edge of the board. So I'm using some candy clay, which is kind of like a modelling chocolate, for the nose. Now this one's like a pale skin tone colour. I don't know if it shows very well on camera, but it's got a little bit of colour in it, like it comes this colour. So I've added 2 balls for the nostrils, and then we've rolled a bit out thinner that we're going to go over the nose with. I would go fairly thin, otherwise you're going to have quite a bit of sort of sugar paste and modelling chocolate on the nose area. Now the nose, I quite like the colour for this, that's why I picked that particular paste, but also it tastes a bit chocolatey, so it tastes nice too. So just trim off any extra from around the edge of the nose, pressing it down gently with your fingers. I'm going to use a balling tool to kind of either side of that mouth, just press in a little bit so that he looks a bit happier, like he might be smiling, and those are the indentations in the cheeks as you smile. And then we're going to use a balling tool to press into the nostrils a bit. Don't press too hard that you go through to the cake. So we're making it sort of teardrop shapes in the middle of those nostrils. Then we want 2 white balls of fondant that we're just going to put in those little eye sockets. So just a tiny piece of black fondant, or modelling paste if it's a bit easier. Modelling paste is a little bit firmer for you to use, and that's just going to go around the edge of the eye. Now I'm adding some dust, a bit of pink to the cheeks and the nose. And the bits in the eyes I was just kind of having a bit of a play around with, guys. Also add in some darker colour. Now I know it looks like an eyeshadow palette, guys. It's not eyeshadow, it is food colouring dusts. It just comes in a palette like that. Again, I'll put links below so you can see it is edible. So the eyes, I was torn between a circle shape or an oval shape. I did this in a Facebook Live, which I do every Tuesday morning at 10:30, and people prefer the round eye, so we went for a round eye. And that's just like a pale brown kind of ivory colour with a ball of black in the middle. And I'm using my edible pens, and we're going to go with some brown around the outside edge, kind of flicking it in a tiny bit, and then with a slightly damp brush, we're just going to kind of blend the pen in a little bit more in those eyes. You can give him a bit more texture if you want by adding a bit of hair on the body. I'm not going to put too much on because it's quite time consuming is adding hair. You'll see I've done a few kind of Zootopia ones where I added all the hairlines. I did really like them. I thought it was worth doing, but in a Facebook Live when I did this, I don't have that much time to put in that much detail. So nose ring, we've done the nose ring. We'll paint that up gold in a few minutes. In the meantime, I'm going to cut a load of oval shapes in red because I thought it would be quite nice for the Chinese New Year because it's the year of the ox. So we did lots of ovals and we're sticking those on in the background. So I want the smaller ovals to look like they're further in the distance, and then the bigger ones will hopefully look like they're closer to us. Hopefully. You can use a circle cutter if you don't have an oval cutter and just kind of trim a little bit off the edge again. So cut twice with your circle cutter. So I'm also going to use an oval cutter now for the ears. So I wanted to put the lanterns in the background first so the ears can kind of go over the top of them. Just pressing them on each side of the head. We'll add a bit of pink dust, edible dust, remember guys, into the ears. And we want some small pieces underneath each of the lanterns. Just little balls squished under there. And some gold's going to look nice on there. So I've got gold leaf. It is edible, is the gold leaf. Just wet each lantern a tiny bit, not everywhere, just in small parts, and then we can kind of press the gold leaf onto that. If you've got a nice soft brush, you can kind of rub over the gold leaf with the brush to press it down in place, and then it'll also kind of flick off any bits that were a bit loose. Now I'm just using some black food colour. It's fairly watered down, just to darken the lanterns that are in the background a bit. And then we're going to use some gold for the nose ring. These ones are water activated paint, so you just mix them with a bit of water. They are edible again, and we'll just go over that nose ring. And then also I want some bits that look like they're hanging from the bottom of each lantern, so we'll paint those on in gold. You can even paint some patterning. I'm not very good with patterning, so mine are just little squiggles on some of the lanterns that I've added there, just for a bit of extra detail. So we're going back to modelling chocolate for the horns on this one, guys. You don't have to eat them if you don't want to, but if you've got the modelling chocolate, it is a bit firmer for the horns. Also, it tastes a little bit nicer than just using fondant. So we just rolled them into long, thin cones, and then we're going to put them on against the head. And I've bent them around a little bit to give them shape. I think as well I've kind of bent them in the same kind of shape that Ferdinand maybe has his. And then we're just going to add some extra pieces of brown up to the top, just to give him a bit of hair. And like there's a bit then that looks like the horns are kind of hidden under that top piece there. Play around with how many pieces of hair you want on there. You don't have to put loads of hair on if you don't want. And then if you want to give him eyebrows, you can give him eyebrows. So when I asked everyone watching in the Facebook Live if they preferred with or without eyebrows, it was a bit of a mixed view on that one. Also, guys, I did make some little chocolate cakesicle things to go with these, but the video for that is over on my Facebook page. But you can pop over at any point and have a little look at that. So thanks for watching again, guys. Don't forget to check out my other videos, and I'll hopefully see you next week. If you liked the video, be sure to hit the thumbs up button and leave me a comment below. You can see more of my tutorials by clicking on the images on screen now. If you haven't already, make sure you click the subscribe button to stay up to date with my future tutorials. There are also links in the description box below where you can find me on Facebook, Instagram and more.